Hello, hello, hello. Hey team, Blake here with Crushing Defeat Media. Welcome to another video. I'm pretty excited about 6.3, so I decided to make a patch notes video for you, and hopefully this will help keep you from having to go through and read all these pages and pages of notes. The only thing you will want to do is double check the official patch notes when they come out for any job changes to your abilities, things like that, because they don't include those in the preliminary notes these days. So that would be the only thing that would get added for sure in the official notes. Other than that, everything should stay the same. The other thing I want to talk about is I have started to put most of my gaming videos, Final Fantasy specifically, onto a CD Media gaming channel. So I will link to that in the description and in the pinned comment. If you could please check out that channel, subscribe to that channel. I've got a few new videos for you over there. I've repurposed and re-edited a few old videos over there, so please check it out. I would really appreciate it, and look for more gaming videos to be posted over there. That way things can be separated a little bit better, and YouTube will know who to recommend my videos to, because unfortunately right now I don't think they know who to recommend the videos to, because some are gaming and some are current events. You get it. Anyway, I digress. Let's get into these patch notes. So 6.3, gods revel, lands tremble. So a couple of things I wanted to start with right off the bat. The Omega Protocol Ultimate is scheduled for 6.31, and the new deep dungeon that we were actually expecting in 6.3, Eureka Orthos, won't be until 6.35. And then the new Hildebrand adventures, the updated Manderville Relic weapon quests and tool enhancements, and Loperit tribal quests will all also come in 6.35. So the Loperit tribe quests, the new relic quests, and the new deep dungeon are all going to be in 6.35, which I'm going to be honest with you, I'm kind of now more excited about 6.35 than 6.3, but this is still going to be a really big, really good patch, and I'm super excited about the new MSQ stuff. So the first thing on here is players can now dive in Upper Lanosia. And so approaching the water will allow players to swim and then dive, as long as you can dive. And I'm expecting there'll be spearfishing nodes in there as well. So I don't know why they started with this, but it's something that's being added. New MSQ stuff with Zero, which I'm super excited about. If you turned off the little MSQ notifier on your HUD, you might want to turn that back on. Or you can just go to Rods at Han at 4.4 by about 10. And make sure you've completed the main scenario quest Buried Memory and you're ready to go. Or just go to Rods at Han and look for the purple quest marker. I don't know why I said all that other stuff. All right, so MSQ is really good right now. I'm super excited about what's next, and hopefully you are too. That's probably the thing I'm most excited about with this patch. Character portraits have been implemented for battle dialogue during main scenario instance battles from the 3.x patch series. So there's a few places in here where the character portraits are going to start being used. You're going to see them used in some dungeons and raids and things like that, where you're going to see mini versions of the character portraits and the adventurer plates, and all these things are going to start being used more, which is cool, because up until now, really the only use of like the adventurer plate is if you click on someone and actively look at it. But you're going to see many versions of that pop up in other places throughout the game, which is very cool. So if you haven't done an adventurer plate, or you want to have a nice updated one, or maybe you've unlocked some adventurer plate goodies, some extra ones, you might want to go back through that and make sure you've got all that updated for 6.3, because more people are going to be seeing it. And you don't want to have a trash adventurer plate, because you will get made fun of. You won't get made fun of. That's not true. Chronicles of the New Era quests have been added. So Mists of the Realm, if you want to continue to know what's going on with the 12, or if you haven't started to figure out what's going on with the 12, I won't spoil anything, But in order to continue that quest, you're going to go to Mordona at 24/9 and talk to Derek there, which is that's also a great quest line. Really, I was a little concerned about what were they going to do after Endwalker, after that huge storyline was done, and I think they've done a really good job of keeping us interested in what's next. Speaking of what's next, there's a new side quest that once you've completed Shadowed Pass and the main scenario quest of ? So basically once you've gotten through all the 6.3 quest stuff, you're going to be able to do a new side quest called Tales of Newfound Adventure. And if you look at the picture on the screen, and if you think back to one of the cutscenes, there was a part where a little void scent snuck by you and a guard goes chasing after it, and it looked very much like the creature shown here. So you've heard it here first. I'm expecting that those two things are connected. Tataru's Grand Endeavor is also quest line that will be available, and for that you can go to Old Charlian at 12/10. So you're going to want to look for purple quests in Old Charlian. You're going to want to look in Radzat Han. So those are and Mordona. Those are the places you're going to want to look for your purple quests. Island Sanctuary. So if you're doing Island Sanctuary, we've got new quests and new levels there. So the level cap's going to go from 10 to 12, and there's going to be a new quest line that goes along with that. If you haven't started Island Sanctuary yet, or you just want some Island Sanctuary tips and techniques, don't make the mistakes that I did. I put a video on the other channel. Check it out, and hopefully it'll help you with your Island Sanctuary. And like I said, not making a bunch of the mistakes that I did. We've got a new custom delivery, and that starts at That's So Andon is the quest, and that's at the Crystarium. So another place you'll want to check for. They've also added stuff to New Game Plus, which they do every big patch. There'll be older content, or stuff that becomes older content gets added to New Game Plus. And then this is a pretty good quality of life improvement for the deep dungeons, the field operations, and the variant and criterion dungeons. On the map, you're now going to see specific icons for the entry points for those. So for example, in order to get into Eureka, you used to just need to know where to go. There wasn't anything on the map that said, this is the entry point for Eureka. And now you'll see on the screen there's going to be special icons for you to know, okay, that's where I go in Kugani to get into whatever, right? So I thought that was a pretty cool quality of life improvement, and strangely one that wasn't there already. When the location or destination of a quest is not a city or an open field, a quest icon will now display on the map, indicating the path to reach it. As a result of this update, it will now be possible to reach quests in unique areas by following the quest icon on the map. So I'm assuming there's some quests in this patch that are in some potentially difficult to reach areas. So if you're having trouble finding the next spot of a quest, just look at the map and it should give you some directions that make it a little bit easier to do so. So the next update, Chronicles of a New Era quest, But I Hardly Noah and the Gift of the Archmagus will no longer be available. So if you are doing those quests, you should abandon them. I think that's just part of trying to clean up some of the old content, trying to make it less work for people to get caught up. Additional information has been added to journal entries for Crystalline Mean and Studium delivery quests. In a nutshell, what this means is they're adding more for the collectibles. They're adding more information in the system that tells you where to get it, what bait to use, all that kind of stuff. So that way, they're doing a lot to make it so you don't have to Google search things. Those websites that you Google search for, but I think they're trying to make it so you don't have to spend as much time looking things up on other websites and then coming back to the game, and then looking things up on websites and coming back to the game, which I think is good. That's a good thing. Certain quests previously classified as side quests in the journal have been further separated. So in the journal, if you're looking for quests, they've created more categories to make it a little bit easier to find things. Deep dungeon quests will be classified as records of unusual endeavors in the journal. That, who cares? Okay. New items are available in exchange for bicolored gemstones from the gemstone trader NPCs in certain areas. So if you, like me, like to run the fates and like to get those really cool things from bicolored gemstones, then make sure you're checking NPCs to see if anything new's been added and where the new stuff has been added. For the treasure hunt, we now have Taro skin treasure maps that have been added, and they will always lead to Elpis, where there's a small chance to portal to the shifting gymnasium Agonon. And the shifting gymnasium Agonon has been added. So we've got a new treasure map with a new special area that you go into, a new portal area you can go into, and I'm sure there's going to be insane rewards in there. Usually when you go through the portal through treasure maps, and this is a party size of 8 players, which is a lot, usually some of the best stuff in the game is hidden behind there. So if you're big into treasure maps and you like doing the group treasure maps, now is a great time to start doing party finders for that. There's a new charge symbol option, which is cool, so they're adding more customization there. New craftable items for the free company workshop, which is cool. There's new areas for subaquatic voyages, which is good. I'm glad to see they're still adding stuff there. The submersible rank has increased from 100 to 105, so they're not letting that content die. They're continuing to support the free company submersible missions and all that, so that's good to see, because again, some of the best stuff in the game is locked behind that content. All right, this next one's a big one. If you've been trying to get a house, if you're into housing at all, if you have not gotten that plot that you've wanted for so long, if you've been waiting so long to get that plot, now is one of those unique times where you will have a greater chance of getting the housing plot that you want. So wards 25 through 30 have been added to all residential districts. This is 1,800 more plots per world. So Mirala and I moved from Diablos to Seraph so that we could get the houses that we want, and thankfully we were lucky enough to get them. So I'm so grateful to have finally got the large housing plot that I wanted in the Empyreum. That was an opportunity when they created those new worlds and that new data center to get a housing plot that you want. This is another really good opportunity, so I can't overstate this. If housing is something you're interested in, now is the time to get involved in the lottery. 25 through 30 have been added. The lottery period for these new plots will begin Sunday, January 15th at 1500 GMT. So at 3 p.m. GMT is when the lottery will open up. You have 2 options, and I will tell you what the 2 options are and then kind of my advice here. So option 1, right when the lottery opens, or really close to when it first opens, you find the plot that you want and you throw down on it. And you throw down on it because you want anyone else that's looking at that plot to go, oh, someone's already thrown down on this plot, I'm not gonna put down on it. I'm gonna go find one that no one has thrown down on yet. So be the first one to throw down on it. That's option 1. Option 2 is you wait until the very end and you run around looking for plots that either have 0 entries or have very few entries. Now this is gonna depend a little bit on how popular your server is and how popular housing is on your server. I prefer, and we've had better luck with the former, being the first one to throw down on a plot, because then you're going to be able to go after the plot you want, and you're not going to be left with the scraps, so to speak. And when there's so many new housing plots available and people see that someone has thrown down on that plot, they will be more likely to move on. So what do I mean? I threw it down on the plot I wanted on Seraph. no one else threw down on it because there were a bunch of new plots just like there are now. No one else threw down on it. Mirla, we waited until the end, and she had to go up against a couple other people and just luckily won. So go after the plot you want, throw down on it. I would not recommend going for the best plot in a zone. I mean, you do whatever you want, but like for example, if you're going for a large in Shirogane, there's that one on the top of the hill with the hot springs behind it, the little hot tub that tends to be the most popular one. I don't know if I would throw down on that because everybody and their brother is going to be throwing down on it. Find like the second best spot and throw down on that because there's going to be less people going after it. That's what I did. So I hope if anyone's going after a lottery, I hope you all win the plot that you want. I really, really do. All right, enough about that. Last thing I want to talk about housing. So they're changing the way the wards are designated. Now there's going to be free company only, personal only, and then either. And I actually pulled that up. So wards 1 through 6 are going to be free company. Wards 7 through 20 are going to be either. Wards 21 through 25 are free company. Wards 26 through 29 are going to be either, and then Ward 30 is going to be private. So I think the important thing to know here is make sure you're looking at those little icons when you're going through the wards. So if you're in one of the new data centers like I am, wards 1 through 9 are free company, 10 through 24 are private buyers, and then the new wards are not available yet. For all the other worlds, which is probably what most of you are going to be on, it's what I said. New furnishings have been added to the game. This waterfall thing looks pretty sweet. I think that's one I might like to get. The table and stuff, I don't know, it looks kind of boring. The outdoor little fountain looks cool. The carriage looks cool. The outdoor otter fountain looks pretty cool. So if you're a crafter, it's always a good time to look at what you can make because if you're a crafter, it's always a good time to look at what you can make because you could probably make Gil making the new things that have come out. Portrait furnishings may now be previewed, so if you haven't been using the housing preview option, please do. It's a great way to find new housing items. New orchestrion roles have been added. They also added a couple new orchestrion designations or categories. So dungeons 2 and then quests have been added as categories to further separate the orchestrion roles and make them easier to find. New aquarium fish have been added. There's like this stingray looking thing with plants on it that looks pretty cool. A new seed for flower pots have been added called Morning Glory. Please do not spend a bunch of money on Morning Glory because as you can see, Morning Glory seeds can be purchased from any of the material supplier NPCs. This one's sweet. New prizes available for purchase using MGP, and there is a huge whale style flying mount thing here, and I just hope I have enough MGP to get it. I had been hoarding a couple million MGP waiting for something like this, and then when nothing came out, I started to spend it on random stuff. So I have a feeling this is going to cost a lot of MGP, and I might have to spend more time at the Gold Saucer, but I will certainly be seeking that out. It's about time we got something else awesome for MGP. Along with the new stuff you can get with MGP, there's a new Sylph Step Leap of Faith course, which looks really cool. Looks lavender bed style, which is awesome. And they've made some adjustments to the schedule there. But I think the important thing is just every 20 minutes. So on the hour, 20 after, 40 after, on the hour. That's when the gates are available. New Triple Triad cards have been added. 2 new Sanctuary ranks have been added to Island Sanctuary. I mentioned that earlier, so the new cap's going to be 12. New Vision Quest has been added, new gathering points, new materials that you can gather. And one of my favorite quality of life improvements, the range at which you will pick something up has been increased. I don't know how many times I went to gather something, it's like, you're not close enough, and I kept always having to move a little bit. to get close enough, so that range has been increased so you won't run into that trouble. The minimap can now be configured to display desired gathering points by accessing sanctuary settings, so that's cool that you can now use the minimap. If you need logs or lumber, you can do display trees. If you need rocks, rock salt, whatever, you can do display rocks, so that's cool. New crafting recipe, new produce, that looks like peppers. I think that's peppers. New animals have been added, so there's a griffin, and then there was also a tiger I saw a picture of. A few more quality of life improvements for Island Sanctuary. One is you can now do a collect all from your cropland and your pasture. You can just collect them all instead of having to go in and click on each individual one, which is a huge quality of life improvement. There's a new roller coaster landmark that we'll be able to build. Your friends, if they visit your island, will now hear the orchestrion. New materials can be acquired from foraging expeditions through the granary. These are a couple other real good quality of life improvements I wanted to mention. So each heading in the supply and demand menu can now be sorted in ascending and descending order, and time has been added as a filtering option, which is huge. I would always have one spot in my handicraft schedule that I wanted to fill, and I would have 4 hours, and I would always have to dig to find something 4 hours. Now you can just sort by 4 hours, which is cool. Popularity, supply, and demand. Predicted popularity are now displayed in the set agenda menu, which is nice. They've made it a little bit clearer when you don't have enough materials to create something. That's now going to show in your earnings report, which is great. New hairstyle for Vera, new hairstyle for Hrothgar. Duty support has been added to a bunch of different places. Wondrous Tales prizes have been adjusted. Looks like a couple of things have been added. Faux hollows. New items are available in exchange for faux leaves, which is great, and the available trial for faux hollows has been changed from Containment Bay S1T7 Unreal to P1T6 Unreal. There's a new emote that's been added. Looks like it's like a link pearl, like hello, hello emote. New poses have been added for the sit emote. It looks like the female sit emotes are much more respectful than the guys. So I don't know what the reason there is. I'm sure something there was problematic, I guess. There's a new pose for when you're holding an umbrella. So icons indicating physical magic and unique damage will now be displayed in the battle log. So if you're looking at the battle log and kind of scrolling through that afterwards to see what happened, or you're watching it actively, you'll have different icons that tell you, was it physical damage, it'll have a sword, was it magic damage, it'll have a wand, and was it unique damage, it'll have another icon, which is helpful because some enemies may be weaker against certain types of damage, or you may want to know what type of damage is being inflicted. So I think that'll be super helpful just to have that visual indicator of what kind of damage is being done or dealt to you. Time remaining for enhancing or enfeeblement effects will now be displayed in the party list. So instead of just seeing that icon, you can actually see the amount of time that's left on each of those. Please be advised that enabling this setting may place more stress on your system. If you experience any hindrance to gameplay, please consider disabling this option, which I will do. This option can be enabled or disabled via the Party List tab under UI Settings in the Character Configuration menu, and then go to the Party List tab in UI Settings. You can turn that on or off. Text color for the recast timer in the middle of action icons has been enlarged and adjusted for certain actions, so it's probably just hard to see. We got a new dungeon. Lapis Manalis has been added. Got to be a level 90 with an item level of 590 or above. It's a 90-minute 4-player dungeon, which is cool. And the new trial has totem stuff that you'll receive that you'll be able to turn into rods at Han for amazing things. There's Containment Bay P1T6 Unreal, which we mentioned earlier, that's been added. It can only be accessed via the Raid Finder, and players must first complete P1T6 before challenging the Unreal version. The drop rate for Blue Feather Link's flute has been increased, which is good. Weekly restriction on rewards in Pandemonium Abyssos have been removed. So that's awesome. So you'll be able to go and get those as much as you want each and every week. The number of unsung blades of Abyssos required to exchange for the ultralight tombstone for the weapon has been reduced from 7 to 4. So this always happens at this time during the patches. They make stuff unlimited, not behind weekly restrictions, and they lower what you need in order to get the weapon. Reaper and Sage weapons are now available from coffers that appear after completing Omega Alphascape Savage, so that's good. And the Alliance Raid dungeon, Euphrosyne. They're starting to make these harder to say, I think, on purpose. 595 item level requirement. And in order to do it, you're going to go to Mordona, talk to Derek, and it's Return to the Phantom Realm, so it has to do with that quest line. You get 1 reward per week in Euphrosyne, and once you've got that, you're going to have to wait for the next week to get another reward. Upon completing the raid, players can also earn a separate reward once per week: 2 cracked Antho clusters and 1 coin. The coin can be exchanged at Rods at Han for items used to enhance equipment purchased with elegant tombstones of causality. So you're going to be able to use this to upgrade your causality gear. Players will no longer be rewarded cracked Antho clusters upon completing Algaea. Items required to enhance equipment purchased with causality can now be got with sacks of nuts, or the Algaea coin, or the Euphrosyne coins. So you can use the coins, or you can use sacks of nuts, which is pretty typical to get the new Moonshine Twine or Moonshine Brine to update your equipment that you got with Tombstones of Causality. All part of getting it to that next level. A new arena, the Clockwork Castle Town, has been added to the Crystalline Conflict. That will be enough of a reason for me to go to another server that actually plays PvP. It looks pretty sweet. Season 4 will end and Season 5 will begin. Items, new equipment has been added. It looks fine. Not my jam, but maybe it's yours. New recipes have been added to make some like servant type gear. I don't even know. I don't even know what they call that. Not my jam. A bunch of stuff has been ungender locked, and a bunch of the names have been changed for the items that are now ungender locked that had gender specific names. So it was called like boy's coat, and now it's ungender locked. It's called coat, right? You can now dye the Chocobo mask, the Chocobo suit, and the Racing Chocobo mask, and the Fat Chocobo head if you would like. Following additions have been made to Glamour Dressers. Items may now be filtered by level, gender, or keyword, and items may be sorted by item level per category. Crafted item level 610 equipment can now be exchanged for 620. So this always happens where the tombstone gear will be 10 higher than what the crafted gear is. So since the tombstone gear is going up with those upgrades with the twine and the brine, the crafted gear is also going to be able to be upgraded to 620. And I'm kicking myself because I got rid of a bunch of 610 gear that I really could have used the upgrade to get to 620. I don't know why I did that, but more about the new custom deliveries. So if you go to the Crystarium at 9/11 and talk to the Supplicant Sheep, that's where you can start that. New fish have been added, new teeming waters have been added. I'm assuming some of that's in Lanosia. Level cap from Desynthesis has gone to 620 from 610. New mounts have been added. This is a It gives me Dumbo vibes, so I'm excited to get that new mount. New Chocobo barding and minions have been added. That is a very cute dog. New fashion accessories have been added. That parasol is pretty cool. That's legit. That's legit. That's the parasol from the character from the Island Sanctuary. So I'm assuming that's probably where that comes from. Just a guess. It is now possible to converse with NPCs, craft, or engage in other activities while using a fashion accessory. That's awesome. So now you can have the fashion accessory out and not just have to hold it all the time and do nothing. You'll be able to craft and do other activities while holding the parasol or whatever it is, the wings, for example. So that's pretty awesome. When using the data center travel system, if you are still in another data center after 30 days, you're going to be sent home. Oh, this is another big quality of life. So cast, glamour, dye items options have been added to the retainer menu. So you no longer will have to pull the stuff you're retaining as wearing into your inventory, do glamours and dyes, and then put it back on your retainer. You're going to be able to do that right while it's on the retainer. That's huge quality of life for those of us who like to, role play our retainers a little bit and put them in different outfits and dyes and things like that. So that's big deal for those of us who are interested in that. That's been a problem for a while now. There's going to be new instances for Garlemald in 6.3. So because obviously a bunch of people are going to be playing Garlemald, because that's where a lot of this content sounds like it's going to be in Garlemald. Following changes have been made to group pose. New stickers have been added. You can see some of that on the screen. New frames have been added, and specific RGB values can now be adjusted using the sliders and lighting settings, which is cool. So I hope it's RGB and you can adjust those sliders. Do you want to have a blue tone, red tone, green tone? That's really cool for those folks that are into doing group pose. I can never get it to look as good as a lot of others can. It talks about the new accents for adventurer plates. So there were some play styles that people did that weren't included. So VNC Dungeons, Dome and Mahjong. Sorry, no one's going to use that one. Island Sanctuary, I could see that being a popular one. And then people who like to go after achievements. So I might do Island Sanctuary. Maybe even achievements, but I'm not going to be adding Dome and Mahjong to my adventurer plate. Let me know in the comments if you will. Maybe I'm wrong and you love Dome and Mahjong. I don't know. And then party members' instant portraits will now display at the start of the following duties: dungeons, guild heist, trials, raid dungeons, alliance, raid dungeons, deep dungeons, and variant. So I think what's important here is you'll want to, for the portrait, import settings from adventurer plate in the portrait window just to make it easy on yourself. So that's what I plan on doing, because you've got your portrait, which shows up in the dungeons and stuff, and then you've got your adventurer plate, which is the more widescreen version. So just go in and apply it, make it easy on yourself. Hopefully that makes sense. It is now possible to display party members' instant portraits in the player commendation window. Commend the player who left a positive impression on you. That's cool. You can now click on their instant portraits instead of their name. That's very cool. There's a new UI theme. It's called Clear Blue. You can see the picture of that on the screen there. If you like that better than either of the two versions that are out there. The number of Waymark save slots have been increased from 5 to 30, which is pretty sweet. Your current gil is now displayed in inventory. All right, this is another one. Options to disable the right-clicking of targeting of certain types of targets have been added. You can disable the right-click selection of player characters or the right-click selection of non-player characters in battle, or disable the right-click selection of minions. So the reason I bring this up is, let's say you're doing a fate in the Ishgard restoration thing, the feats or whatever, and you've got to right click on something, but there's 150 people there. You can disable the right click of players and non-player characters and minions so that you're only going to right click on that treasure box or whatever you need to right click on. So I think that's a win. I think that's all I wanted to cover in the patch notes video. because it's already super long. So thank you so much for watching. Please, reminder, if you've made it this far into the video, check out the other channel. Link will be in the description and the pinned comment. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy 6.3. Also, real quick, I have a tour video on the other channel of my new mansion, which lists the ward and the housing zone. So if you want to stop and leave me a message and say hi at my house, that would be super cool too. And yeah, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, team.
Crushing Defeat Media.